Today on Reservations Required, discover the allure of Boulevard, the most popular restaurant in San Francisco. Find out how its sumptuous menu and spectacular Art Nouveau design have made dining at this restaurant an essential eating experience. Plus, Ed Levine finds our tastemaker has designs on America's best restaurants.
Welcome to Reservations Required. I'm Jackie Maloof. San Francisco might be known for its streets, but it's Boulevard that has the town talking. Take its modern American cuisine, mix that with a sexy Parisian decor, and it's no wonder that Zagat has awarded this restaurant top honors for 7 years in a row.
Located within a stone's throw of the Bay Bridge, Boulevard first opened in 1993, and its opening ushered in a new era of fine dining. Nancy Oakes, the restaurant's widely celebrated chef, wowed the crowds by blending French technique with home-style cooking. Since then, she's won countless awards for her work. Today, more than a decade after Boulevard opened, the awards and crowds just keep coming.
2001. James Beard, Outstanding Chef in California. How did that affect your career?
That is like the most wonderful award from within the industry, to be praised by the people who are in your sort of working community, which it means a lot to me, really. I mean, I felt, you have to realize I was sort of the Susan Lucci. I was nominated about 5 times before I actually won, but actually a nomination from the James Beard Foundation gives you such public visibility that it's kind of almost, you're sort of sad when you do win, because then it's over. You know, you've won.
Being a woman celebrity chef in America is, I mean, you are one of very few women. Come on, talk to me about this.
Well, California certainly has a lot of
great women of the culinary arts.
Yes, it's true. And they are maybe absent more than they should be in other parts of the country.
I mean, it would seem to me that women should rule the kitchen. What's the deal?
Well, really we do, but no. I think it's because I think there might be a real conflict between having a family and children and working the kind of hours that you sort of have to put in to keep yourself on the edge of this business. So I just leave it that I have about 105 children now here in the restaurant.
105 people that you employ. Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
It is sort of staggering when you say it, actually. But no, it's my family.
Another important figure at Boulevard is business partner Pat Coletto. He's a celebrated restaurant designer and winemaker and is known for his fantastic imagination and charismatic personality.
A good friend of mine was having a dinner party, and they invited me to go, knowing that Nancy was going to be there, not knowing that I wanted to do anything with Nancy, but it was maybe even potentially a date, you know, just to meet each other and see what happens. And we got together at the dinner party, and it was kind of like, I've wanted you to do a restaurant forever. She says, you know, somebody told me we were going to do a restaurant together. And she says, I love your restaurants. And so I said, let's do it. And we looked for over 2 years before we found Boulevard.
When you found the space, did you know that this was it?
I did. This is a building that, having spent most of my life in San Francisco, I was familiar with this building, which is a very special building.
It's such a great building, and it burned up. The whole inside of it burned down. There was nothing in here. And so Nancy and I had been looking for restaurants together for a couple of years, and she said, just keep bringing them, you know, I'll let you know. And I found this building, and I brought her, and I said, Nancy, I think you're going to like this one. So she called me the next day. She says, Pat, I hugged the building.
Oh.
And I said, great, we finally found a restaurant, a location you liked.
Although the restaurant seems as if it's always looked this way, it was actually an office building with indoor-outdoor carpeting when Pat Coletto got his hands on it. As he began to imagine the space, he used one question as inspiration. What if there was a little bistro under one of the corner pillars of the Eiffel Tower? Then he started designing.
You have told me that you are a junk collector,
I'm
if you will, that you
I'm a
love
junkie.
beautiful stuff and antiques. So this must be so much fun for you.
You gotta see my house. It's fun, and a lot of times I collect things, you know, from all over the country and all over the world. These paintings on the wall, these old posters and everything, in reality, from the Paris flea market, I bought them for $3,000, and it turns out they're actually original Lautrec's and original Charest, his teacher, and all that stuff.
And you had no idea when you
I had no
bought
idea.
them.
I just knew they were very cool and would be really perfect, you know, here for Boulevard.
Because the space is long and narrow, Pat divided it up into 3 sections. The first is the bar area. The second is affectionately called Lover's Lane because every table only seats 2 guests. As diners enter this part of the restaurant, they're greeted by a fantastic French bronze. It's an antique from the 19th century and the most expensive piece of art in the restaurant.
This is something that you need to really look at. I was in Paris at a place called Chez Ami Lumi, 200-year-old restaurant. The walls are falling apart, and I said, oh my God, we got to recreate this. So this is actually done on canvas with plaster and then broken off. It was done by a faux artist named Peter Bricka, who's probably the best in the country, but they're one of my favorites.
The third section is an elevated area, something Pat calls the bulkhead.
We created a elevated platform so people could see the Bay Bridge.
The view. Pat, it's spectacular.
It's really fantastic. We got a great view of the whole Bay Bridge coming across and Treasure Island, and you know, a lot of the ferry building, which has been here forever and ever and just restored, so it's pretty great.
Part of Boulevard's mission as a local business is to stay connected to the neighborhood, and it stays closely connected. Not only has it led the effort to revitalize San Francisco's waterfront, it also promotes sustainable agriculture. That's a philosophy of buying locally from farmers who grow responsibly, and it's at the core of Chef Nancy's beliefs about food.
Well, I think this is what makes the difference, is all these greens were picked today, and then they're delivered to me, and then they'll be served tonight, really.
And what type of crop or varietal, I guess, do we have in front of us, Sydney?
This is baby watercress, and this is a really exquisite lettuce called Galactic.
Gorgeous.
Which is my personal favorite.
My
I love
personal
that.
favorite, too.
Two kitchens are used to prepare food at Boulevard. Downstairs is where all the prep work is done, but upstairs is where Chef Nancy really starts cooking.
Nancy, what are you doing with all these chicken wings in this giant oven?
Well, over the years, Pam and I have developed a way of making really intense sauces, and we don't really use veal stock or any of the traditional ways of doing it.
And Pam is your sous chef?
Pam is actually the chef.
She's the executive
Yeah,
chef.
she is. We've been cooking together for 16 years.
Beautiful.
She's my secret weapon. Really. Anyway, so we do it by layering. So we'll just keep making chicken stock, and then we'll keep putting it over these brown, toasty, crispy wings, and then we'll do it again and again and again until we get that really fine, delicious syrup.
Caramel
Yes.
syrup. Nancy, we're entering the open kitchen here, and I can see your team very busily at work. What's happening over here? Are these the heirloom tomatoes?
Heirloom tomatoes, and this is a green tomato and basil aioli. It's going with a soft shell crab, and Sylvan is getting 3 of those ready right now.
And I see some kind of Belgian waffle tart with huckleberries.
This is a ginger and lemon waffle that's going with the foie gras and huckleberries.
Oh.
So now we're at the heart of the kitchen. This is the wood oven, and it works. It has a large hot firebox there, and then the heat comes up at different temperatures. And you can see that Tal has everything just about ready to go. He's just barely giving it some color, and then he's going to finish it to order.
So Nancy, you will actually roast meat and finish it in this oven?
It goes in this oven. These are all marble slabs, and behind each of these boxes is a different temperature. And so this is powering it all.
Did you create this oven or build this oven? I've never seen anything like this.
This is an oven from Chicago. So everything is done.
Is it antique?
No, it was bought when we opened it. Pat decorated it.
Fabulous. Of course he did.
Yes, of course he did.
Everything at Boulevard looks and smells so delicious, there's only one thing left to do: put in an order. Up next, Chef Nancy prepares the perfect meal. Find out her delicious secrets as dinner is served. But first, Ed Levine's exclusive interview with famed restaurant designer David Rockwell. Welcome back to Reservations Required and today's Tastemakers.
Walk into any fabulous restaurant in this country, and the chances are pretty good that it was designed by David Rockwell. What do the Kodak Theater in Hollywood, the Broadway musical Hairspray, and the Mohegan Sun Casino all have in common? They were all designed by David Rockwell. But this famed architect is probably best known for his restaurant designs. What are the hallmarks of a David Rockwell designed restaurant?
I would say we have almost a kind of cultural obsession with not having a particular style. But there are ideas. There's 4 or 5 ideas that we try and weave into every project, and it starts with the chef and the operator. What is unique about that restaurant? What can you create design-wise that is so authentic that it's not duplicatable? So we're always looking for authenticity, and we're looking for a story.
For over 20 years, David Rockwell has been collaborating with the most powerful figures in the food world. I'm talking about 4-star chefs like Gray Coons of New York's L'Espinasse, who just finished working with David Rockwell on his newest venture, Cafe Gray.
I had a specific vision and David had a vision, and we put those two things together. And I think what it was, we have different schemes of what the restaurant's going to look like initially, and we choose the one together with the kitchen in the window, and after that everything started to fall into place.
So what was your conception? What did you bring to them?
Well,
what idea?
I brought the menu. That's it.
With Gray, a chef who's known for luxury, the story we created was around reinterpreting the brasserie, breaking down that. So storytelling is critical.
There's an extraordinary combination of precision and commitment to excellence and warmth that I think Gray represents in his food. And I think the restaurant, even from the facade, from the moment you see the restaurant from the outside to the moment you sit down, it was really, in some ways, our job was to channel those two things together in a kind of generous environment.
It was nearly 20 years ago that Rockwell created one of his first restaurant environments, a place called Sushi Zen in New York City. It was here that Rockwell's passion for set design and world-class food came together. That experience would help to launch his reputation as a great restaurant designer. So it's no wonder that the legendary restaurateur Drew Naporent hired Rockwell to collaborate on the original Nobu.
Drew was someone I knew I wanted to work with, and I actually approached him, I think, a year before we started the project. And we had just completed Vong for Jean-Georges in the Lipstick Building. And so Drew called me, and we had a meeting with Drew and with Robert De Niro, first time I met him, and with Nobu Matsuhisa. And I've got to say, I was so intrigued by doing the project.
The idea was to take the considerable talents of Nobuyuki Matsuhisa, transplant that to New York, call it Nobu, the more familiar, the more relaxed first name, rather than the more difficult to pronounce last name. And then design something that had as little pretension as possible.
We came up with a proposal that in many ways was a continuation of something I'd done 20 years ago at Sushi Zen, and it was abstracting nature in a way that related to Nobu's roots, and then trying to use raw ingredients in the design in a way that was inspired by the way Nobu uses ingredients, translucent ingredients.
According to Rockwell, a dramatic sense of entrance is another key element in many of his projects.
I think when you walk into the space, there is an immediate wow factor. You actually will say, wow, that's nice. And certainly then when you sit down and you experience the first few dishes where there's definitely a wow factor, that's when all the subtleties of the synergy really work.
In fact, it worked so well that the partners at Nobu hired Rockwell again to design the newest Nobu, Nobu 57.
This is just a mock-up we made, a cross-section of this banquette that is really equal parts Japanese fishing basket.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks sort of fishing. Something's fishing.
But it also feels a little bit like sitting on a cloud. And Sean, is that the latest rendering of 57th Street?
Yeah, this is the latest rendering. And what you can see is you can pick up that banquette here that you see from the street, and it becomes a glowing lantern, not only a great place to sit, but a sign for the restaurant.
So you have stories and entrances.
Entrances, lighting. Mm-hmm. And lighting in a restaurant has many jobs to do. You've got to be able to see the food, and preferably see the food in the kind of color range that the chef intended it.
Lighting was one of the biggest obstacles in designing the space for New York's town restaurant.
In town on 56th Street, one of the biggest challenges was we were dealing with this basement space, and we were dealing with a room that was going to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Rockwell felt different lighting was needed for lunch and dinner. Chef and partner Jeffrey Zakarian knew that would be the formula for success.
I came to the project knowing what I wanted. I had storyboards, and I worked with David on getting the feel I wanted for the space. I think it's the space should sort of be elegant and beautiful, and be almost enough to sort of make people feel good when they sit down. And then the cuisine, I think we know what we're doing, so I think when we do the cuisine, it elevates everything.
And then the last aspect I like to think of as sort of a general concept is procession. So once you get past the entrance, you can create a procession through the restaurant that's comfortable and interesting and feels like this journey.
Of course, that journey can be a little more challenging if it involves different levels. And when it comes to two-story restaurants, you might say David Rockwell has taken design to brand new heights.
In New York, so many of the spaces are basement and second floor that we truthfully have really gotten into making stairs this wonderful experience. At Rosa Mexicana on the Upper West Side, I think it's 2,000 square feet, which to give you a sense of it is the size of a bar in a typical restaurant. And then this huge space upstairs, 18 feet above the floor.
We knew we had a difficult space going in, and it was really David Rockwell and his team that laid out how it would all work together. The overriding factor, of course, was it was a two-level restaurant, and that dominated everything.
We said, where are we going to put the resources here? And we put a huge percentage of the resources into the stair. This red and orange terrazzo stair with this water wall that flows down next to it. And people love walking up and down that stair.
Authentic materials, a sense of story, innovative lighting, inviting entrances, and a comfortable procession through space. These are the elements that epitomize David Rockwell's work. And today, that work goes way beyond restaurants. He's doing movies, Broadway shows, even museums. But no matter what David Rockwell tackles, he will never lose his passion for transporting diners in restaurants.
Restaurants in some ways are this little mini 2-hour vacation. So as a designer, you can really take people places.
Up next, the flavors of Boulevard, truly a San Francisco treat.
Welcome back to Reservations Required. I'm Jackie Maloof here with Chef Nancy Oakes and Pat Coletto of Boulevard. Nancy, tell me about what we're about to eat.
Well, this is a ahi tuna, which of course is amazingly popular these days. But two of the young sous chefs here took it in sort of an Indian motif. So it has all the different chutneys, a tomato chutney, a mango chutney, little crunchy condiments for it. And then the tuna sliced sashimi style, but then also in a tartare style.
And a little papadum.
A little papadoms. So you kind of mix the different flavors together and enjoy the textures.
Such a beautiful plate as well. I mean, again, bringing the design element from the restaurant decor kind of onto the table. Pat, tell me about the wine, please.
We're drinking a German Riesling today, and it's just perfect.
Excellent.
Rieslings are great with tuna, and anything that has a little bit of spice really is nice.
Very, very nice. I got the mango chutney first. Now, where am I getting the just a teeny bit of heat on the front of my tongue? It's
probably
delicious.
from just the tartare is mixed with a little bit of curry and spice, so it has a tiny bit of heat. It's not too spicy.
It's so buttery. Delicious.
It's
excellent. Chef, This smells heavenly. Talk to me about this dish.
Well, this is a little bit of Provence in a way, and then we had fun and we kind of invented a new seafood, which is ended up taking 2 prawns and putting a piece of lobster and then wrapping it with my favorite ingredient, bacon. But it actually comes out to be sort of a new seafood. So it's fun. It has the crouton is very Provence with all the usual suspects, tomato, and I didn't put any pepper in it because Pat doesn't like peppers.
Thank you.
So really, you are cooking a la minute. Pat, what are we drinking?
This is our Coletto Estate 2002.
Wait, Coletto Estate? Would that be one of your wines?
How did you know? You figured that right out. This is off a ranch up in St. Helena. And so this is our 7th vintage, 2002. Nancy style, designed straight after her. Not a big, huge, buttery Chardonnay, but something just a little bit more straightforward.
The idea that you have paired bacon with lobster and shrimp together in the same bite, and then dipped it in lobster bisque. Oh, it's amazing.
Well, everything's better with bacon. There's no doubt about it. It's one of the sad facts of life.
Truly.
Maybe ice cream isn't better with bacon.
I haven't tried it.
I haven't tried it either.
I see squab, and is that a scallop or foie gras?
Foie gras.
Oh, chef, I mean, so many beautiful things. Tell me, give me every bit of this plate.
Well, we have California squab, and this is Sonoma foie gras. And underneath the squab are those pink pearl apples. So the apples are actually the bright red. And then huckleberries, which are also in season for us now. And
what is this beautiful kind of caramel-looking sauce?
Well, there's 2 things. There's a reduction of the huckleberry and balsamic vinegar, and then there's just sort of a natural jus that's made from the bones of the squab.
And Pat, I see a beautiful inky Coletto.
Syrah, this is really our first great wine, and the 02 was better.
To have squab right next to this unbelievably luscious foie gras, amazing. That is heaven in the mouth.
Well,
and the tart, kind of sweet aspect of the huckleberries just comes right in and kind of cleanses your palate in the same bite. Oh, Nancy, I'm seeing truffles galore.
Well, they're the summer truffles. They're the fun truffle.
They're huge.
Truffle light.
Beautiful. And what else do we have on the plate?
Well, we have a little lamb New York roasted on the bone, and these are wonderful fresh shelling beans. So these are Italian butter beans, and they're cooked with a few chanterelles and some herbs and a little melted garlic. And then again, that nice, a reduction sauce with a little bit of olive oil in it.
And why lamb New York?
Our favorite Saturday meal at my house, my mom used to always make lamb T-bones, with the porterhouse with both sides. So this is just the one New York side, and meat always tastes better roasted on the bone. It's a little bit inconvenient to eat, but I think it always tastes better, gets flavor from it. So the New York, just to make it a little different.
And just before I taste, you mentioned your mom.
Yeah.
She's a huge influence in creating your palate, and America thanks her.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your mom and the effect that she's
She and
had
all of
on
her
your work.
sisters were great cooks, and everything that they made, even the simplest food, was just delicious. So I kind of got used to delicious food. I mean, your flavor profile, to some extent, I think is really created when you're a child, and it's the things that really speak to you are familiar from your childhood.
And you get to stay connected to your mom with every plate. And
well, I've had more than one therapist tell me that.
And on that note, let's have some wine.
Let's eat okay.
Really. Speaking of therapists, yes. This is 2000 Coletto Estate Cabernet.
Gorgeous.
So again, eating things on the bone takes a little bit of
skill.
Yeah.
Boy, this is great.
Oh. And usually when you have a truffle, the truffle is the first thing that you taste. And this is, the lamb comes first. I'm trying to articulate what happens right at the front of my tongue. It's so exciting. I'm not blowing smoke, really. It's so the savoriness of the natural salt that happens when you cook the lamb.
Caramelizing.
Oh,
This is really well seasoned. I mean, and that's, there's a lot of debate about seasoning before you cook, and the truth is I don't think you can ever, if you don't season it from the beginning, everybody's afraid that the salt is going to make it lose its moisture, but it's not true. You have to season from the beginning.
Dessert. This is my favorite part of the day.
Well, speaking to the inner child, dessert always has to be for the child, sort of. So you have the peach panna cotta with fresh peaches and blackberries with blackberry ice cream and a little cornmeal cake.
Oh.
And then we do, this is a tasting of chocolate. So this is a bonbon filled with mocha almond fudge.
And it's a white chocolate?
It's a white chocolate on the outside. So it's really a bonbon, you know, it's just a different shape for it. And then this is the grown-up chocolate, which is a wonderful single vineyard chocolate with fleur de sel. So I don't know, the combination of chocolate and salt is wonderful. A little soft chocolate cake and some almond chocolate brittle.
Oh, beautiful.
And then Pat has the vanilla, the ode to vanilla. So he has sort of a vanilla bavoise that has a chocolate explosion inside.
Oh.
Vanilla creme brulee, and then a little ice cream sandwich with vanilla ice cream and vanilla cookies.
Unbelievable. Again, keeping with your philosophy, chef, of fresh ingredients. Now, what would a meal like this cost?
Dinner is probably around $80 a person now.
Excellent. So delicious.
Okay.
Okay, well, I have a toast. To Boulevard, you have been given top honors for 7 years in a row, and after dining with you guys, I see why.
Today on Reservations Required, experience L'Impero, a sexy and sophisticated restaurant renowned for alta cucina, the delicious and somewhat decadent cuisine of Italy's nobility. Plus, Ed Levine finds our tastemakers advancing the vegetarian menus at some posh and very trend-setting restaurants.
Pharrell Williams here.
Hi, I'm Joy Bryant.
I'm Eric Ripper.
I'm Tom Colicchio.
I'm Dr. Frank Lipman, the host of On the Table,
The host of Across the Board.
Host of Artist Talk.
Host of Hooked Up.
Host of the show Be Well Week, Be Well Weekend on the Reserve channel.
It's only on Reserve.
Did you know that you can follow my show on social media sites like Facebook?
Follow us on Twitter.
If you're a fan of my show, hit the like button.
All of the above.
Share me with your friends.
Treat yourself. Check out a new episode of my show, Hooked Up.
And if you want to leave comments, feedbacks, ideas, whatever, love to hear from you. Leave a comment.
And if you don't want to miss the show, be sure to subscribe.
The one that's like down here, or is it here? Somewhere down here.
Thanks for watching the Reserve channel.
Only on YouTube. Throw caution to the wind and ask yourself what rules.